arrays again. And I'm going to show you an example called palindromes. Okay, so the things to remember about arrays, let's remember about arrays. Okay, so these are the things you want to remember first of all. It's one variable that stores a bunch of whatever, some data type. Int, float, char, double, etc. Any of our normal data types, you can store a bunch of them in one variable. The way to declare, there's two things you have to do with any variable. One is declare it, and two is use it. Okay, so declaring an array is something like int nums, and then you say how many there are going to be. Char, message, and then how many characters. This is a C string. A C string is just an array of characters. Alright, then you want to use it. You say nums, and you put in brackets equals 5, say nums bracket 1 equals nums bracket 0 times nums bracket 0. Take a second and ask yourself, what would be the value in nums bracket 1? Well, this one here goes into the 0th integer in nums, puts a 5 in there. Over here we get the 0th integer out twice, multiply it together, and store it into the 1th. The thing to remember here is remember that index into an array starts at 0. Okay, and whether you're going to save into it or get the value out is just like any other variable. If you're going to save into it, that goes on the left hand side of an equal. If you're going to get the value out, it would be on the right hand side or in an if test or a while condition. You get to have something like that. Alright, that's what you need to remember about arrays. And now the example. So this code will show how to do determine if a word is a palindrome. Alright, what's a palindrome? A palindrome is the same front to back as back to front. Some examples of palindromes. Dad, mom, a longer example. Well, here are some others. Civic, radar, level, rotor, noon, kayak. Alright, and there are others. If we're going to tell if something's a palindrome or not, then what we need to do is go from the front of the string up to the middle, making sure that the character that's at the corresponding, so the first one should be the same as the last one. The second one should be the same as the second last, all the way up to the middle. You can imagine there's going to be some sort of a for loop, which generally will be the case if you're going to do something with an array. What kind of an array am I going to use here? I'm going to use a character array or a string. Let's just type in the usual stuff. And I'll show you it with a C++ string and then with a C string. String, some word. Okay, then we'll get the string from them. Tell me a word. I'll tell you if it is a palindrome. Word. Alright, and then we'll see in the word. Now we're going to have some kind of a loop. And there's 3 things you need to figure out. What happens at the beginning, how long do you keep going, and what happens each time. I'm going to have I equals 0 at the beginning, and I plus plus each time. I is going to be the index into my string. Okay, and I'll keep going as long as I is less than some word dot length over 2. The length here is the number of characters. So if I had kayak, the number of characters would be 5. I keep going as long as I'm less than 3. So I go 0, 1, or less than 5 over 2 is 2. So I go 0, 1. Let's see, if I had noon. If I was testing noon, that's 4 characters long, and I'll be going as long as I'm less than 4 over 2, which is 2, 0, 1. Index 0, index 1. Alright. And the thing I want to test here is I'm going to test if some word bracket I is the same as some word bracket. Now you have to get a formula. It's going to be something like some word dot length minus I. Something like that, because this is going to be starting at the end and coming forward. But what's the index of the last letter in the word? This one is 4 long, and the last index is 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so it's actually some word dot length minus 1. That would be starting at the back and going towards the front, because I have this minus I is going up, this goes towards the front. If they're not equal, then I would say not a palindrome. And I'll keep a boolean here. And I'll just say at the beginning that I haven't failed any tests yet, but if this ever happens, I do have a failed test. Okay, then at the end, if I have a failed test, and I see out not a palindrome, otherwise I see out yes, a palindrome. Woohoo! It probably works. Let's just assume it works. Now let's make sure it works. Works on those two anyway. Alright, that is with a C++ string. If we had done it with a C string, it would be char, some word, and then we'd have to give a maximum number of characters that they're going to type. This isn't going to be on the test, but this is how you would read it in. And instead of some word.length, it would be str. The rest of it stays the same. I have to pound include some other things for using C. Let's just make sure that works. Okay, we also have to do it here. The dot length here is a C++ thing. If it's a C string, there's something called strlen that we can use. Alright, so it still works. And the nice thing about a C string is you can see here that really what it is just a bunch of characters. Alright, they type in the word. This is how to read it into a C string. Or actually, I guess we could, even though it's a C string, I think we could still use cin. Alright, but you can't use dot length because that's a string thing, not a C string thing. Alright. But anyway, so we have a character, an array of characters. You declare it like this. And then you get to a particular one with the square brackets. You can put a number in there, and that'll just take whatever that number is. If you put a variable, it'll be whatever the value of the variable is. Then we're looking at that one. Over here we have an expression instead of a variable. We'll evaluate the expression. What's the length of the string? -1 minus I, that'll be some number. Whatever that number is, that's the one we're looking at. Thing you need to remember is the index starts at 0. So the first letter that they type is going to be at I equals 0. Other examples that you would want to look at, let's see. Arrays.cpp, that's where we just first started. This one we had 5 integers that we declared. We read in those 5 integers, and then we could do something with those. Total is, and how would you do the total? You'd add them all up. You could do it with a loop. If there's only 5 of them here, it wouldn't be that difficult to just spell it all out like that. You could take as an exercise, read in, say, 20 integers and add them up using loops. Okay, so instead of having a bunch of these in a row like this, make a loop that reads in $20 of those, and then a loop here that adds up 20 of those, similar to the homework. Alright, you can also look at array example. Okay, this was an example showing that you can pass an array into a function. Fine. Alright, that's it for arrays, and you got a new fun thing, which is palindrome. That's the end.